Welcome to I Hate It Here, the podcast for HR and people professionals, making the hardest job in the world just a little bit easier. I'm Hiba Youssef.
At the end of the day, it's still time. We still value our time, so no one's showing up to attempt to have a bad day, let alone put out a bad work product. And in particular, go back to like the gaslighting aspect is more times than not, again with the projection as well, like it's your strengths that are being turned into liabilities or trying to be perceived as liabilities. So if your strengths are now being used against you essentially, or at least trying to be used against you, then how can you trust anything that's going on around you?
If you've ever screamed at your ATS, you're not alone. Team Taylor gets it, built for recruiters who care about great candidate experiences and their own peace of mind. Beautiful career sites, automation that actually works, and UX that doesn't make you want to throw your laptop. This is what hiring looks like when you're ahead of the curve. Welcome back to another episode of your favorite podcast. I am Hiba, your host and resident hater, and I really knocked the alliteration out of the park with that intro, your host and resident hater. Anyways, this season, I have been talking about all the forces, internal, external, emotional, generational, personal, that shape who we are and how we show up at work. And today we're talking about environments, specifically toxic ones, how they shape us, how they follow us, and how they turn us into versions of ourselves that sometimes we barely recognize, where we're hyper-vigilant, over-prepared, and allergic to a calendar invite that is just titled Quick Sync. And to have this conversation, I had to bring back one of my favorite people and close friend, a returning guest, resident shit talker, Chris Hagood. Chris, welcome.
Thanks for having me back.
I didn't know if I needed to say your last name or not, but then I was like, maybe I should. If you've listened to our previous episodes, you already know Chris brings the perfect mix of insight, therapy-adjacent wisdom, and the, oh yeah, I've lived through that too energy. He's somebody who understands not just the mechanics of work, but honestly, the emotional underlayer of it all. And so today I want to talk about how toxic environments creep in, shape our identities, and influence how we show up, possibly long after we've left that environment. And since Chris is in the virtual building, if you've listened to our previous episodes, you know I love to subject him to my games. So we're going to play another game today because healing can be fun and unhinged if you just let it be. Okay, let's get into it. Chris, my first question. How does your background, identity, or lived experience shape the way you react to toxicity at work? I said loaded. I'm coming in hot with the most loaded question I could come up with.
You came in double fisted. Like here we go. Let's get into it.
Let's shit talk.
Yeah, identity is an area where actually through work and just being in this function, this industry, there's a lot of work around, right? So
yeah.
It comes to identity for me personally, my leading factors are I'm Afro-Caribbean. I was raised by, or was helped raised by my mother's side of the family. They're from a small and important island called Trinidad and Tobago. My father is all the way DC. His eldest siblings grew up in North Carolina, younger siblings, including himself, are DC. So like truly old DC, being raised in that very similar but very contrasting environment.
Yeah.
Definitely has impacted me as a person by way of just like expectations. Always having the expectation to pick up whatever is being dropped, making sure that you are putting forth a 10x effort, making sure that even when things get difficult, like you just kind of eat it. Now, over time, I've learned some of those aspects aren't always great. But
Same.
those pieces of the identity, though, particularly in the workplace of experiencing toxic people or toxic environments, I think have had pretty big multiplying effects. And
Yeah.
so even in your intro, like I have had quite a few different jobs and roles in my, let's just say, over 10-year career at this point. So I've been able to like experience too much, but also have the opportunity to reflect back and say like, oh, that was actually not on me. That's a learning experience versus, oh no, that was definitely on me and I got to mature a little bit.
Yeah. It's so interesting you bring up like background and where your parents are from and kind of like their upbringing and how it impacted yours and then how you think about toxic environments. Because I think for the longest time, I put up with like such bullshit because my dad's like ethos was like, I came to America to like he got his PhD and he was like a student and he like had this idea that we could just learn. We could learn everything and like we would get the opportunities we deserve. And you and I both know that is not how work works, right? And so when I would complain about work, my dad would be like, it's fine. Like they do a 401k match. Just make sure you're contributing to your 401k and like you'll get that promotion, when you deserve it. And I'm
Right.
like, no, I was passed up for that promotion. I do deserve it. This is a toxic environment. I should not be screamed up by my boss. But I mean, it was just such a different like frame of reference, honestly. And I think like very early on, I put up with like such toxic bullshit simply because I thought like, I can overcome this. And if I overcome it, then I am stronger for it. And that like really messed me up a lot.
Yeah, I have a feeling you'll be able to resonate with this too. Like, even to this day, I try to reconcile, if not mitigate, the feeling of guilt because of how much our parents have had to overcome
Yeah.
and how successful they were by overcoming those aspects. I think like a really unique aspect, just to the initial question, is having my mother's parents help raise me is really interesting because a lot of the tenets that they raised my mother with, I was then raised with. One aspect that I really had to decouple of toxicity was my relationship with money. Because my grandparents, even though on an island, not in this country, when the Great Depression hit, they had to tighten their belts in a way that they already didn't have money. And so
Yeah.
a lot of what my grandmother would instill into me as growing up was like, you always got to save, which is true. But she was talking about saving because like there are shortages and you have no idea where money's going to come from. If it's going to come back, people get a little bit crazy. So there's even the generational aspect. I like to say like traditions are actually just generational trauma that's passed down, but I'm a little bit of a, as you like to call it, a shit talker. But that's one of those traditions where it's like even a relationship with money coupled with the relationship in the workplace, because how do
Yeah.
we make our money? Through work for the most part.
Yeah. It's so interesting you say that because like I remember when I was asking for my first raise, my brother and even my dad was like, why would you do that? And I'm
Yeah.
like, because I deserve this. And they're like, what do you mean? Like, that's such a millennial thing. And like my brother for
Right.
years, my eldest brother's 11 years older than me. For years, he would give me shit about changing jobs. And I'd
Yep.
be like, bro, like I need to make more money. Like the only way to do it is to change jobs. Like you don't just like get a 10 to 15K raise anymore in your current job. You get like something very small, like whatever you came in at usually determines how much you can ultimately earn, which I feel like a lot of us in HR have tried to change that, but it's still the how the system goes. And so I just remember that being really funny too, like conversations around money, like
Yeah.
not just the saving piece, but like that I want more piece. And my dad being like, but you make enough. Like, why? And I'm like, what do you mean, why? Like,
Yeah.
because I'm doing a higher quality of work. That's why.
Especially when you have more visibility on the pie, which
Yeah.
they did not have more
Yeah.
visibility on the pie, but we do. There are articles, you can Google someone's net worth and all that crazy stuff. So it's definitely a contrast that has been, I think, difficult to find common ground on.
Yeah. Who do you think is like more likely to minimize toxicity because they've been conditioned to like just deal with it?
Generally speaking, anyone that's been conditioned to be the responsible party. So anyone who's really been molded to take a licking and keep on ticking. People who are forward tough, all the nonsensical phrases I can throw out there. But yeah, a lot of that is just like ignoring the fact patterns, I
Yeah.
think.
Yeah.
But I guess the shorter answer is like you're effectively like nurtured into that. So if that's your role in a family dynamic, because I think it's going to be a really like family centric episode,
Love.
good, bad, or indifferent. But if you felt like you were the person that again had to pick up things that fell, or if you were the person that would lighten the mood if things were getting tense,
Mm.
I think you will then have that developing in the workplace that when you're in a toxic situation that you just kind of default to this is what I naturally have done anyway.
Yeah.
And so that kind of prolongs your situation.
As you were saying that, it was so funny. I'm like, I should get my sister on this podcast to talk about what I'm like as a sister, but then I'm so worried she will read me for filth.
Can
She
you
will.
add
She
her
will.
now?
Yeah, let me just FaceTime her. Like, actually, you know how like on radio shows they would dial people? I
Yeah.
wonder if I dialed her right now, what she would do. She'd either text me and be like, I'm in a meeting, or is everything okay? Like my family is now we have like a trauma response to like abrupt calls in the middle of the day. So like our response is always to be like, is everything okay if someone calls you in the middle of the day? Because we've just dealt with a lot as a family. Losing my dad and my brother, I think, like kind of shook how we communicate with each other. But she would love to be on this podcast because she would read me for filth. She'd be like, you're the one who had no responsibilities at home, because I'm the youngest of 4. And so I think like when I think about like toxicity in the workplace, I'm like, do I just like put up with it, or do I just like skirt the responsibility of it impacting me? Like, how do I show up in toxic environments? Maybe I'll think about it this entire episode. Probably you'll say something.
I just feel like you should dial her right now. And
right now, okay, fine. Hold on. This is actually so funny. She's gonna be like, "What the hell is happening?" Okay, everybody listening, if my sister picks up and says something so disparaging, I'm so sorry. Okay, let's see what happens.
I feel like you're buying time.
Hey, what's up?
Oh, okay. I'm recording a podcast episode, and my friend Chris told me to live dial you. So now I'm live dialing you. And can you tell? Great. Can you tell everybody what I'm like as a sister?
Oh, okay. Well, I'm at work, so let me just walk away from everyone at work.
This is so funny. I'm editing this into the podcast.
Yeah, great. I've always wanted to be a podcast celebrity. So let me just walk out. Just give me a second. What Hiba is like? Oh, okay.
We're doing so great.
Like at what age? Because like there's a little bit of an age difference between us. So I would say when she was younger, we shared a room, and she used to go to sleep early. It was difficult to study, but she was always like inquisitive and smart, and spoke at like 3 levels above her age. Am I supposed to tell like a story about you?
I don't know. I kind of love this, actually. I just did not prepare you for this. We're literally recording it right now.
I'll say this, like, I remember my sister went to something called BOCES, which is like some daycare that my mom used to send her to, and she got very upset, and she came home because she could articulate and speak when she was like 2 or 3, and the other kids couldn't, and she was like, I don't want to go to that school. And my mom was like, why don't you want to go to school? And she's like, because those kids don't speak English. And it was because none of them can like form sentences, so they actually put you in a grade higher. So because you had like older siblings, I guess you always were interested in the same stuff as us. We dragged you along to a lot of things.
Okay, this is great. One last question. How do you think it impacts how I think about toxic environments at work? Like, do you think I put up with more toxic environments, or do you think I'm like more verbal about them being toxic?
So I think I don't know if you guys do anything about sibling dynamics. I think as the youngest of 4, that younger children don't put up with as much toxicity. So they're not used to that kind of behavior. So I would assume you speak up more about it at work.
I love that. Okay, that was all I needed. Yeah. But if you want to come back for a full episode, let me know.
I mean, I've asked multiple times, and each time I've been denied. So thanks, Chris, for putting this together and letting me have my 10 seconds of stardom, even though it's just centered around my sister.
Okay.
So I appreciate that.
Okay, bye. I'll call you soon.
Yeah, that was good.
That was good. She was literally at work, like talking to people, being like, okay, I'll step away if she's calling me. She's good. I'll bring her on for a full episode. Honestly, I feel like everyone would really enjoy it. A lot of the reasons I am the way I am is because of my siblings. I always say like the best parts of me and also the bad parts of me are things that I've learned from my siblings, but a lot of the good too. Cause I think I love that she was like, you probably don't put up with it. And I'm like, interesting. Cause like, I didn't think about that. Like, I thought I was like a bratty little kid who kind of just like, didn't really care when toxicity came up. But now looking back on it, I worked in a very toxic environment for years at a time, and it made me like really depressed and unhappy.
Sure.
And I don't know, I don't think I would have done anything differently, but I mean, it really fucked me up. Why do you think old patterns, like we just talked about, like family dynamics and childhood roles, our cultural expectations, why do you think some of those old patterns that my sister mentioned, that you mentioned, get reactivated in toxic workplaces?
This is what we know. My wife's told me, I don't know where she heard it, but it's just a really intuitive phrase, which is when people effectively at work get into trouble or they get to a point where they just don't know what to do, they always default back to their training. And so part of that training is essentially your upbringing. So I once wore a hoodie to an episode for a phrase, growth is traumatic.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
part of that is trauma is essentially you get to the point where you're unprepared for whatever it is that you're facing, which is effectively growth, which is kind of like the positive spin to trauma, not to make light of trauma, but at the
Yeah.
same time, you're defaulting back to this is where the tape ended. So last time the tape ended, here are the things that I did and I survived. So it's just like a survival mode that if you don't have the opportunity for either introspection or at least help with reflecting to what happened, like you're probably not going to learn a different way of addressing what you're going through.
Yeah, it probably explains why I'm so emotional sometimes in situations like at work, like why I tend to, because my spot as the youngest child already being emotional. I cried on like 3 episodes this season, but like I tend to, when I'm like really upset, like my mom and my sister know when I'm really upset because they know I'll end up crying because I'm like so upset.
Sure.
I like can't control why I'm so upset. And I think in the workplace, like I have cried several times at work and it's not all negative, but I think like something ends up upsetting me and I just like don't know what to do. And I like need to get a cry out before I go tackle the thing.
Yeah.
And maybe that's like why, because that's like all I did growing up. Like when I got so upset, I would just cry.
It's your point of overwhelm.
Yeah, it's maybe not healthy. Maybe I need to go to more therapy, honestly.
Who doesn't need more therapy?
I need never-ending therapy, like once a day, maybe. I'm not sure. This is therapy. This podcast is therapy for me, not to
Facts.
diminish therapists and trauma. Chris and I have been very clear about that, but this does feel like therapy sometimes. Like something I've been reflecting a lot about recently was like that really toxic environment I worked in. It made me like really dislike myself, and it also made me really doubt myself and my abilities. Why do you think people doubt themselves maybe more after a toxic job and not during? Like never in the moment was I like, oh my God, maybe I'm the problem. But then afterwards I was like, oh my God, it's me. I'm the problem. I'm the bad one. Why do you think that is?
Because I think biologically, when you're in it, you're in survival mode. And so we have a whole different sensory pattern when we're in survival mode. Once we get out of it, we get through it. Again, you have an opportunity for reflection and introspection. So it just, obviously, the longer that you're in any sort of unhealthy situation, it builds up. So even once you get out of it, like it might take months until you actually start processing a toxic work environment or toxic behavior or bullying, whatever the specific case might be. But it's really hard to have both sides of your brain, effectively the survival aspect and like the rational aspect, work at the same time. I just think biologically it's probably damn near impossible.
Yeah. I feel like it's taken me, what do you think is the longest it's taken you to recover from a toxic environment?
Toxic work environment?
Yeah.
Probably 3 years.
I was going to say 2 to 3 years for me too.
Yeah, probably 3 years.
It was hard. I didn't trust myself for a while. I didn't trust anyone around me. I think that part was the hardest for me because when I did my episode with Madison a few episodes ago, we talked about how like one of the interesting parts of our dynamic is she is my direct report, is that sometimes she likes to like remind me that not everybody has the best intentions, because I'm always just like, everyone is like so great and like they're going to be such good people. And I actually think now that I'm saying that out loud, that's probably like a trauma response from all of my previous toxic environments, because after toxic environments, I didn't trust anybody. And it took me like a really long time to overcome like trusting my coworkers, not instantly thinking that they're going to be the person that screws me over for like any tiny thing I said. And I've had some blips here and there where I have really struggled with trust with certain people, but it's so interesting because it really messed me up. I was like, everybody's out to get me. Like literally like after that toxic environment, I was like, everyone's there to fuck me over.
Right. And I know historically, even by definition, gaslighting is for romantic relationships, or at least that's what we know them by. But a toxic work environment has to be the most common gaslight scenario that you effectively all go through, just at different degrees.
It's wild because like a lot of bad environments will make you feel like you're the problem. And then you start to, again, the gaslighting, you start to like, what do you mean? I'm not the problem. The problem is the environment and this behavior that is put up with. And so I think like when I think of HR people and the job that we have to like undo a toxic environment, I'm like, that is damn near impossible. Like,
Right.
what do you think is even the first step in like trying to undo a toxic environment? Like if you were the HR person, it was super toxic, everyone was backstabbing, like what's the first thing you would do?
The first thing I would do is identify what's real versus the folklore.
Mm.
Because I feel like we have had clients over the past couple of years where I repeatedly said, you all are chasing ghosts. That you have this really toxic environment by leaders that have now been gone for years and people have been gone for years. But what you all forgot was those individuals effectively like made processes. They trained people that those people and processes are still here, but the people are long gone. There's folklore of like how it used to be that somehow, even though it's different now, the fact that this environment used to be one way, like that's the ghost. Like it could effectively, it's like it could go back, but it has nothing to do with the current leadership. So being able to call the reality and the folklore, it's not to like forget where we've been, but at least being able to say that is not the reality. And as long as we keep being intentional, that will not become a reality again.
Yeah, we forget that like it compounds, like the bad behaviors of the
Yeah.
leader, even after they leave, still leave a mark on people. And that is the perfect transition to my game. Where if I could play music right now, I would, because we're going to play a game. And here's what this game is called. It's called Toxic or Just Tuesday, or maybe Thursday. I don't know. You pick the day, toxic day of the week. Here's how it works. I'm going to read you a series of workplace scenarios, real ones pulled from HR lore, some maybe personal trauma, and maybe some collective group chat moments of the American workforce. And your job is to tell me if the situation is normal, annoying but survivable, or full-blown toxic. You ready?
No, but
No, I mean,
okay.
I gave you the scenarios. Like we're going to debate these. Like these are debatable.
Yeah,
Ready?
no.
Okay. The first scenario is Slack goes silent whenever one leader logs in. Is that normal, annoying but survivable, full-blown toxic?
So here's the thing. I don't have a lot of experience with Slack. So
Okay,
like
Teams. What were you?
but
Skype for Business. Remember when we had that?
I was just talking about Skype for Business yesterday.
Skype for Business, RIP. Loved that. Love
Right.
that. Love that IM situation for me.
Microsoft ruined that. But anyway, it's the second. Remind me what the second one is.
Annoying but survivable.
Yeah, I'm going to say it's annoying but survivable simply because I know how common it is. It's a toxic element, but let's just be honest, all these prompts are effectively going to be toxic.
In some form or another, I don't know. It's a game we're playing, right? I mean, it worries me. It would worry me. I would say annoying but survivable, because then I would start to do my detective work.
Yeah.
Like I would start putting on my best Mary Kay and Ashley trench coat and get down into it.
With the big magnifying glass?
Yes. Okay. Also, it's just a pop culture moment for Mary Kay and Ashley with the magnifying glass. Did you ever watch a show called Ghostwriter?
Oh, yeah.
Where they like communicated with the ghosts in the notebooks? Yeah. I have it on DVD. And yes, I know I'm one of the only people on this earth who still has a DVD collection, but that is in its OG case. But I was just thinking about that the other day because I was like, why, as an elder millennial, am I so nosy trying to solve mysteries all the time? And I'm like, was it Mary Kay and Ashley? Was it Ghostwriter? Was it Carmen Sandiego? Like maybe I am the way I am because of all of the mysteries we watched growing up. Wishbone. Also loved Wishbone. That was more historical, but like still kind of. What was the other one? There's so many of these.
I don't even know where to go with that. I mean, all of those are great programming. Obviously, it helps you make incredible content too. So shout out to all of it.
My pop culture knowledge really is never ending. Today, I'll save this one for later. I'll save it for another pop culture moment. Okay. We're going to go with annoying but survivable for Slack going silent whenever one leader logs in. Okay. Second scenario. Nobody knows who actually approves PTO.
It is toxic. Unfortunately, it is annoying but survivable because I think there are a lot of entities that function that way and it's ridiculous. But like, Headline: The United States workforce is toxic.
Instead of playing this game, we're just going to go over all the toxic things that have happened in the workplace to us this week. Just kidding.
Nope, not enough time.
Not enough time. We have just not enough time at all. Okay. So the PTO one, I would say like, you think toxic? I think annoying but survivable. Because like a lot of times people don't know who approves PTO because they just simply don't know how the system works. But actually,
I think that's ridiculous. But yeah, I think we've accepted that because for most of us, PTO is a form of our compensation. It's a part of our compensation. So effectively, we don't know how a portion of how we are being paid to do this work, how it functions, or like how we can tap into it, or who approves it, why they reject it. It's toxic.
Yeah, that's a good point. It's so funny. Sometimes my CEO forgets to approve my PTO and I'm like, hey man, I'm an admin. I can just approve my own PTO, but like, Can you approve this or not? Can I take this or not? And even that is like, imagine I was a lower level employee and I wasn't comfortable the way I am with my CEO to be like, bro, can you approve this now or not? Like, I don't want to have to sit here and wait, but my sun is just like shining through on me today. I look like an angelic on this podcast episode, by the way, because the sun is hitting me directly from my window.
Chosen one.
Oh my God, I'll do a Buffy. I'll do a whole Buffy spiral right now if you call me the chosen one. But I would say toxic. You're right. It is part of our compensation. People should be allowed to take their PTO and they shouldn't be scared to take it. Most ATS tools feel clunky, cold, and complicated. Team Tailor makes it feel effortless. Built for modern hiring teams, Team Tailor combines drag and drop workflows, branded career sites, and smart automations that save hours without sacrificing the human touch. Because every candidate interaction, yes, even those rejection emails, shape your employer brand. Team Tailor helps you make those moments count. It's why brands like Oatly, Five Guys, and Happy Socks trust Team Tailor to turn hiring into a seamless brand experience that candidates remember for all the right reasons. Hiring should be simple, fun, and effective, and Team Tailor makes it all possible. Okay, next scenario. I have 7 total, so you have a lot of these.
I'm with it.
Your founder says, we don't do job titles here.
Capital T. Toxic.
Say more.
It is a very loud declaration that we lack my 3 favorite things in the business: clarity, alignment, and prioritization.
Yeah, cap.
Look at you. You and Gen Z like this.
No cap. Just kidding. I'm done now. I will see myself out of this podcast episode.
You're not done.
No, I'm not done. Okay, so it lacks cap. What else?
It also is a precursor to moving goalposts.
Yeah, because they're like, what if this thing is an expectation today, but not an expectation tomorrow?
Yep.
I also. This will be a hot tip. Maybe it's a hot take. I also low-key hate the head of title, like head of this, head of that. We don't have that anymore at Workweek because we've all talked about it. And I'm like, this title is very confusing. And people in the startup space are like, oh, I love the head of title because then you can layer that person later under like a VP or an SVP. And I'm like, why don't you just give them like a real title with a real structure and framework? And so like one of the first things I did when I got to Workweek, like literally week 1, I pulled every single job title we had, looked at every single job that people were doing, and then I tried to level everybody. And I will say like leveling everybody has been my saving grace. I still do it today when we're posting jobs and we still talk about jobs in the way of like, this is a director level. Here's what we expect of them. This is the scope of work. And I think it has really helped us avoid that like title creep and that scope creep where employees feel like their title is right sized for the impact they're having on the org. But like anytime someone's like, we don't do titles here, or we do like made up titles, I'm like, ick, red flag, toxic. That they're going to take advantage of you, run as fast as you possibly can.
Exactly. And that's your clarity, right? And also, so we can basically level them later. Again, that's moving the goalposts.
It's ridiculous. So we can layer them. I like that title so we can layer them later. I'm like, ick, just give them a normal title. Why?
Just say you don't know what you're doing.
Or call me. I'll level everybody for you. Like this is a fun pastime for me at this point. Okay, scenario. So we decided that's toxic. Our 4th scenario. All feedback is given verbally. Nothing is ever written down.
Toxic.
Capital T.
Capital T.
People, oh my God, I said to someone recently, they should follow up in writing with the feedback. And they were like, ooh, that's like kind of HR-y. That's a little too HR-y for me. And I was like, what? What?
If you could be anything in this lifetime, you should be for real. Because what type of response is that?
Thank you. I was like, what do you mean? I like to give the feedback verbal. I like to give the feedback in writing. That was the other feedback point I had this week. Somebody was like, oh, so-and-so wants to give me feedback. And I was like, ask for it in writing before you even go to the conversation. You are well within your rights to say, can I read it first? Because like even me, a conditioned person who has gotten a lot of feedback in her life, not all of it great. Even I know I get triggered in feedback conversations where it's human nature to get defensive when someone starts giving you feedback. All of us do. Mm-hmm. It is human being 101. We are going to get defensive regardless. Asking for it ahead of time gives you a chance to like be defensive in your head. I'm fighting battles in my head every day that no one knows about, you know?
Facts.
Like, give me the feedback so I can fight it in my head first and then give it to me live.
And then also stand on it. Because I'm not going to let you just say some flippant nonsense or some flippant relevant aspects that maybe I do need to hear, but put it in writing so that even after the conversation, because really to your point, the emotional aspect, after the emotional element, we got to do something with this feedback, whether I agree with it fully or not. Like we have to investigate, again, those words, reflection, introspection, but you're going to stand on it versus, we had a feedback conversation. And then what happens next? One person says, this is what was said. The other person said, actually, you didn't say that, or that's not what I took from it. And it's just a mess within 90 days anyway.
Just write it down. If you're going to have the power to say it, you better have the power to put it in writing. And that's just like not an HR documentation. That's like, I don't say that just for HR documentation. I say that for clarity of expectations. Because how I say something, it might be different from how you would say something. And you and I both know two people will have a conversation and leave it with different outcomes. If I had $1 for every time a manager tries to have a feedback conversation with somebody and tells me that they've clearly conveyed it, and then I talk to the person, they're like, they didn't even say that. I'm like, the true story is always somewhere between the two stories you are hearing. It's always somewhere in the middle. And so I think like, write it down, not from an HR perspective. Also, my favorite move lately, Chris, has been to tell people, oh my God, thank you. I accept this feedback. I also would like to take a moment to challenge it. I'm everyone's worst nightmare when it comes to giving feedback. Because I'm like, somebody asked me recently, like, do I just have to take the feedback? And I said, no, you never just have to take the feedback. It is a conversation. It's a two-way street. It is your perspective, my perspective. Maybe it's somewhere closer in the middle. Let's talk about it. And so I think that's a pro tip I wish I could give every single person in corporate America. Like when someone tries to give you feedback, be like, hey, thank you so much for this feedback. I'd love to take a minute and just challenge some of the thinking around this too. Because like you can learn a lot from somebody from how they react to you challenging their feedback.
Definitely.
Tells you everything you need to know. Okay. Scenario 5. A coworker shows up to every meeting exactly 3 minutes late. It's me. I'm the coworker. 2 minutes late to this podcast recording today.
That never happened. Like I need a fourth option. It's not. It can be toxic depending on
baby toxic.
Yeah, like there's perspective to what that is. I think it's a lack of management, but I'll say it's annoying but survivable.
Same. But I did have a boss do this every single meeting without fail. They were late. And at one point I started having to say like, hey, if these times don't work for you, let's change them.
Right.
Because I would rather we get to the meeting on time together than me constantly waste 5 minutes of a only 30-minute meeting waiting for you. But it happens more often than people think. And I think if it really bothers you, you should have a conversation because it can spiral into a very toxic situation. if you're using those, if you know they're always going to be late and you use those 5 minutes to do something else with your time, I think annoying but survivable.
I think also there's power dynamics even within your example that actually does make it toxic, particularly if that's the meeting where you get your
Feedback.
your direction, you get your feedback. Also, I have been with companies in-house, particularly in the consultative side, where we were all triple and quadruple booked for most hours of the day. Therefore, everybody was at least 5 to 7 minutes late to all meetings.
Yikes.
So that environment is then toxic because that is now a cultural and a behavioral aspect that is entrenched in that work environment.
Yeah.
Versus, well, I don't want to give an example as much as there are, if it's a coworker for a shift where there really isn't an impact, it's not great. It's not peak professionalism, but it's not necessarily toxic.
Yeah. I have so many more questions, but we have 2 more scenarios and I need to get to all of them. People whisper after meetings to figure out what was really said.
Yeah, it's toxic.
I have worked at one of those places, and let me tell you, the juicy stories people come up with afterwards, though, primetime entertainment for me. Primetime.
Mm-hmm.
I love, this is why I'm like really like 10 toes on business on clarity. Say it and say it a million times and say it verbally, say it in writing, say it in every meeting. Because when given the opportunity, your employees will fabricate anything out of thin air. Everything.
Yeah.
And it's okay. Like, I don't blame them. You know what I mean? Like, corporate America is like cloaked in mystery. Yep. And I'm like, ain't nothing mysterious. We're knowledge workers. Calm down. Just tell them. So like, I love the stories employees come up with. And that's why like part of my whole ethos as an HR leader is like, I'm just going to tell them exactly what it is every single time. And then if they keep coming with the same questions, then I know that like my communication was not clear the first time. Now I have to double down on it in a different way.
Mm-hmm. I have a similar, with every new client, we say the implicit has to be explicit. And I think my most annoying source of where a lot of those crazy stories come from is when people are like the intern from 2 summers ago. I'm like, what are we talking about?
What?
I don't understand.
What do you mean?
Was there follow-up? Did you ask how they, like, no, but it was 2 summers ago and they said it, and like, okay. Thank you for your time.
I could, no. The stories, we are not in Gossip Girl. Corporate America feels like Gossip Girl, actually. XOXO. Like, we are not in Gossip Girl, though. So, like, just tell them. And if their whispers are happening after the meeting, go fix that.
It's crazy.
Because now you're going to have to address every rumor and you're going to be like, well, so-and-so told me they got fired because of so-and-so and this person did that. And it's just like, hey, we do not need that. We have business to be done.
Exactly.
We don't need more drama. Okay, my last toxic flag. Let's see what it is. You find out about new priorities via a random Slack thread.
All right, I have a question for clarification.
Been there.
Is it new priorities for the company as a whole? Is it for me in particular? Is it my work group? Like, what's this?
Ooh, love. It's for...
I think there's different levels to it.
Ooh. Let's start with you as an individual.
Toxic.
You as you in the company, at the company level.
Annoying but survivable.
Interesting. Why?
I think it's another one of those cases where it's like too common for me to really label it as toxic because I just know it happens a lot.
So often. People are like, oh, we're going to do this new thing. That's why I'm like, never. Every time we do something new, we have a whole comms plan. Like sometimes I think I have become a little bit intense. Actually, that's a lie. I've always been intense my whole life. But like, I do not want someone figuring out or learning that the company decided to pivot the business via a random Slack thread.
Yeah.
That would light me up. Like as an employee, I'd be like, are you kidding me right now? Because like what happens when you learn about a new priority? What if your work was aligned to the old priority? You're going to be like, wait a minute, am I going to have a job?
You're right. Your entire role potentially.
Well, yeah. That concludes our mini game. Did you enjoy that?
I did. I did. You know that I love, I'm a man of nuance. And so when you ask me these
I know.
prompts, it just makes me want to implode. But
I love it because anyone else would be like so quickly like toxic this or knowing what's survivable. And Chris is always like, well, can you give me a scenario this? Can you give me some context about that? I'm like, yes, I can. That's why I want to play these games with you. I think they're fun.
facts.
Also, I've been playing a lot of Mario Party recently, and I understand that you're supposed to play Mario Party with a group of people. However, I play by myself and I yell at the computer. Yep. There's a little fun
Okay.
fact about me. So I love that I called this a mini game because they have the mini games in Mario Party, and I always get lit up when the computer is like being stupid or beats me. So just a little fun fact about me going into the holiday season. I play a lot of Mario Party.
Would love that.
Back to my remaining questions for this topic of like toxicity, toxic workplaces, how it impacts us, how we show up. Like,
Yep.
how do you think toxicity distorts your sense of value, competence, or even belonging?
Yeah, in major ways. From one of the earlier questions of really not being able to process and understand until you're outside of that environment. First, let's just call it what it is. It's usually some level of projection of a person or multiple people that makes its way into our own minds, which
Yeah.
then has us questioning ourselves and our abilities. I think even from like a process standpoint of not protecting against inequities or misalignments, you then start to see that, for example, someone gets a promotion, but they actually haven't performed in a way that you believed would merit a promotion. That you start saying like, okay, so it's just the politics, it's just the personality, or even vice versa. So there's just a lot of questioning that, again, from like the earlier point, that you just don't really understand until you get out of that situation. But the projection, if you can't identify when someone's projecting it, that's then having an impact on you, then really that's kind of like the first step of just right sizing yourself.
Yeah. I have this hope in my life. You've heard this dream where I'm going to write a book someday. I'm going to do it. 2026 is my year.
Facts.
It's happening. I've already started in my outline, but my dedication in the book, I really want it to be something like absolutely unhinged, where I'm like, for every single person who made me doubt who I am or what I'm capable of, fuck you.
Yeah.
And I say that as somebody who I think I'm like pretty confident, but there have been workplaces that have made me truly feel like I'm not capable of greatness. And I hate that there are workplaces out there, a lot of them, I'd say the majority of them, are
Yep.
not built for us, and then make us question, am I the problem? When the more like nuanced piece of it is, no, the system is oftentimes the problem. Like, people are not showing up to work thinking, I'm going to do a bad job today, right? Like,
Right.
no human being is doing that. I don't know a single person who's like, I'm just going to do a bad job at work today. I think most of us show up trying to do good work, and the environment sways that substantially.
At the end of the day, it's still time. We still value our time. So no one's showing up to attempt to have a bad day, let alone put out a bad work product.
Yeah.
And in particular, go back to like the gaslighting aspect is more times than not, again, with the projection as well, like it's your strengths that are being turned into liabilities.
Yep.
Or trying to be perceived as liabilities. So if your strengths are now being used against you essentially, or at least trying to be used against you, then how can you trust anything that's going on around you?
It's wild. You're like in a nightmare scenario every day.
Mm-hmm.
Like environments, toxic environments, I think the resounding feedback I always got was, you're too direct. And I'm like, so you want me to play a game of politics? And to be clear, like, you know me, Chris, I'm such a low bullshit person. I'm like, just tell me. I would rather you tell me the thing to my face. I would rather you tell me the project was bad. This I did terribly. That didn't work out. I failed to get the deadline. I would rather you tell me to my fucking face than to make me play a game of politics. Like, I'm like, how is being direct a negative quality? I'm not being a jerk when I'm being direct to people, but I'm telling them what they want to hear. Like, you want me to go play a game of politics where I have to go sell my idea to this executive, that executive, this executive, so they can all go whisper to the one executive who my idea needs to be approved by. Like, I got bigger fish to fry.
What a waste of time.
I hate the game of office politics. I'm not going to kiss your ass, and I'm not going to tell you your idea is great. Go find someone else to do that.
There's just an aspect to like maturing that if you're not going to say whatever it is that you need to say to me, then it doesn't exist. I'm not playing a game of telephone.
The worst. I didn't even want to play a game of telephone as a kid. You think I want to play it as an adult with
Well,
my
it shows
work?
because you tried quitting daycare because they do recess and you don't play games, which is crazy. But again, shout out to your sister.
Because I couldn't communicate with the children.
Crazy.
Been yapping since I was 3 years old.
Write that book.
Yeah, I got to yap my way into pages. Okay. So I have a fun question to lob your way. How does tolerating toxic behavior in the name of things like speed, results, efficiency, founder vibes actually create long-term damage to the org and maybe to the person too?
Given founder mode.
Founder mode killed me. Those founders just being like, I'm going to do this today. I'm like, shut up.
They're wild.
We're
not taking that. We're not taking that tangent. You know, that's a really great question per usual. I think that's a form of oppression.
Interesting. Okay.
I think that's a form of oppression. I think when you're attempting to tie really poor behavior, let's just leave it at that. When you're trying to tie really poor behavior to outcomes, when you're trying to tie poor behavior to performance and making it seem like this is our culture to quote unquote high performance, without providing, again, the clarity, without providing, let's just say like the resources, the support, that is just a way to disorient people, to effectively control them, to effectively keep a thumb on them, keep them around without giving them what they actually need. It's very much to me it's a form of oppression.
I just have to sit in the mix. That was so good. That was so good, Chris. I wouldn't disagree. It's also, I think, a way to reward some people and hold back others. Oppression in a nutshell. It's a way to say, like, this person gets to behave that way. You don't, though. And there was that interesting article that was floating around where it was like company values and how they relate to the tenets of white supremacy. And I thought that was really interesting. I Google that like every few months and I read it. And like urgency is one of the things on there. And it's such a fascinating read. If you're listening, you should definitely look it up because I was like, oh, like when I first started reading it, because I've always been like, I'm a startup queen. I love working at startups. Like I love the urgency. I love the fast pace. And then I started digging deeper into it and I was like, oh, I have not good thoughts about this when I read more about it. Because you're right. It's like who gets to behave as such and who doesn't. Right. And oftentimes I think the majority is like underrepresented groups don't get to behave like everybody else in the workplace. They're held to a different standard.
Exactly.
Sucks. Anyways, I can't solve that problem today, but I will hopefully solve it someday. What habits stick with you? Do you think stick with you after surviving a toxic workplace, from like over communication to over preparing to mistrust I talked about to even hyper-vigilance? What have you seen and what do you think really sticks with folks?
It's going to take like half of my answer. And that's great.
All of them. You can say them.
Did you say hypersensitivity? So no. Hypersensitivity and hypervigilance are
kind of the same. Yeah.
Similar, but they are different.
But different. Yeah.
Yeah. I think the biggie is it's the lack of trust, not only trusting yourself, but of course, trusting the ones around you.
Yeah.
And I think just the process of what do you do when you've had your trust broken, or at least your ability to be open to trusting newer people when you're now in like a newer situation, because that's where I'm taking that question. Like once you get out of one situation, how does it then affect you in the next situation? I think there's also straight up just question yourself of what am I seeing? And more importantly, what didn't I see the last time? So there's even some of that like self-guilt or maybe this misdirected accountability that you're in a really bad situation. So you put yourself in that situation, which is not always the case. So how you rebuild trust in your own senses after you've experienced a really toxic environment is like its own episode. Yeah.
Maybe we'll come back for that next season because I think that would be a really good one because I think you and I both have experienced it and we're both just like, yeah, who even am I? I'm like a ghost of a human being that I was before.
Very much so.
It really took, like, I talk about defining my core values, the 3 that I have: gratitude, honesty, and curiosity. I talk about those so frequently because it really took defining those, coming back to them, reminding myself what they mean, to like remind myself who I am in a workplace and how a workplace can shape me. This entire season, I've been talking about all the things that like shape how we show up at work, but it's also these workplaces shape you. They shape you sometimes for the better. They shape you sometimes for worse. But like even the hyper-vigilance one I called out, I still do hyper-vigilant stuff today, even though I have like amazing trust with my CEO. We're on the same page about a million things. I still go back frequently and I'm like, to reiterate, here's the offer we're going to make. To reconfirm, everybody needs to see this, thumbs up it if you see it. And I just do it out of like I need everyone to have awareness. And now I'm thinking, as you were talking, like maybe that's just like a hypervigilance response that I just haven't shed even years after being in a toxic environment.
Yeah. And there's also the aspect there where people feel the surprise is jarring.
Yeah.
So the negative aspect to the surprise, or maybe even the less than positive of the, in your example, like, yeah, that is the offer, but that wasn't the number I remembered. I thought it was like $5,000 less. Like for some, that's like a jarring experience.
Yeah.
For others, it's like, well, that's why I followed up. So like the difference of being like thorough and hypervigilance, again, it's a fine line.
Yeah. Maybe I'm thorough and not hypervigilant. Who knows? I need to go assess all my behaviors. Basically, this whole season, I've been assessing myself.
Like, what's the outcome? What's the desired outcome that you are looking for or looking to avoid?
Yeah.
Based off of those additional steps, I think will give you your answer.
I just want everyone to know so they don't come back and ask me, why did we make this decision? And I'm like, we made this decision because we made it and you were on
mostly thorough.
Okay, good.
Mostly thorough.
They're not hyper-vigilant. My last question to wrap us up with this episode, as you know, we're always having a good time together. We could go for like 8 more hours. What advice would you give to someone who is currently working in a toxic environment?
Yeah, if you see something, say something.
Okay, TSA. Or is that WMATA? Is it the DC Metro?
Oh,
no, it's
God.
TSA. It's TSA. Isn't it TSA?
It's definitely Metro.
Oh,
Lower your
Metro.
tone.
Sorry.
TSA is crazy.
Sorry. I didn't mean to
Crazy.
take it. Sorry.
It's fine.
WMATA. The Washington, D.C. Metro Area Transit. Did I define that?
Washington Metropolitan.
Fine. Whatever.
It's fine.
WMATA. Everyone calls it WMATA.
Everyone calls it the Metro. We can edit this out.
Keep it.
Yeah, like it's my episode.
I love this. Keep it.
Anyway, what was your question? I don't remember the question.
What advice do you have for someone who's currently working in a toxic environment? Like we've talked this whole episode about how it shapes us, how we shape it. What about the people who are in it and they're like, get me the F? They were listening to us play that game and they were like, oh shit, my environment is all those things.
Now I was totally trolling you. I knew the question.
Okay, fine.
You have to find someone. It doesn't have to be someone actually that's in the workplace, in the work environment that you're in, but you have to find someone that you can actually talk with, because the first step is getting out of your own head. The first step is confirming that what you're experiencing actually isn't okay. The next step is making sure that you are okay. So in a perfect world, you would say the second you're in a toxic environment, you quit. That's not how this works. A lot of us are not independently wealthy. So we have to make business decisions. But what we also have to figure out, though, is, as we said before, if someone is deliberately using your talents and using your strengths and trying to create a liability around them, or get into your head, or trying to use really what makes you great, make that into a problem, then understanding that that is an actual projection, that is potentially a bullying situation, understanding that your strengths are your strengths, and maybe you need to point them differently. Maybe you need to approach your work or to your colleagues differently. Like, that's fine. I also don't want to conflate feedback with toxic behavior in general, because sometimes we just need the feedback. We don't like how it feels, but it's valid. After you have your buddy system, after you kind of like get your star player, get yourself centered, you got to start making a plan. So the first piece of the plan is, how do I protect myself day in and day out as I'm still with this team, this company. The second piece I plan is how do I get out? And part of that might be pointing more of your work to make sure that you're refining a skill or an ability to make sure it can get you out quicker by way of just your resumes and whatnot. And then there's actually like networking and applying to get out yourself. And finally, potentially even like seeking therapy. So the first step is talking to someone, but you actually might need to speak with someone professionally depending on what you've experienced.
Yeah. I have no notes and like nothing to add to that. Like I wish I had like a safety net to leave toxic environments faster than I did, but I didn't. I'm not a trust fund kid. I do not come from generational wealth despite wanting to so badly. Have not won the lotto. I have worked my life. And that's, I think that's a scenario most of us are in. I think that's the standard and the norm. And so it's hard. I know how hard it is when you're in a toxic environment. And like, I had a boss who would scream at me, like truly scream at me and say awful things to me about how stupid and dumb I was. And I stayed in that environment because I had to, because I needed my paycheck, but I made an exit plan. And I think the one thing I learned from that was like I stayed way longer than I needed to stay. And what I should have done was made an exit plan sooner. So my advice is like Chris said, talk to a professional, but also like sit down and write out your plan. If you are getting screamed at, if you feel like you're being gaslit, if you feel like you're being mistreated and there's no path forward, you think that it cannot be fixed in the current environment you are in, which Chris and I talked about how difficult it is to fix a toxic environment. It's possible. It's not impossible, but also, is that something you want to do? Is a real question to ask yourself and write down your plan. If not today, like we know the market, how not good the market is. I would estimate anywhere from 6 months to a year potentially to find a new gig, maybe longer. We've seen less jobs. Make the plan. And I think once you have a plan for how you're going to overcome the environment, it can help you process the day-to-day. And like, I don't say this lightly, disassociate if possible. Like disassociate from the environment. Like in my worst, most toxic environments, I found that I was giving all of myself to the environment in the hopes that I could change it. And what I wish I could go back and shake myself and just say, you're not going to change it, leave. It is too far gone. Like, I can fix him. You cannot fix some corporate environments. You can't. And I just want people to take care of themselves and know that there's so much life to be lived outside of the walls of corporate America. And to do that if you can.
Totally agree with that. I think additionally, be really careful within that gaslighting environment as well of not conflating what you're willing to endure for a time with loyalty.
Yeah.
Because there is a lot to learn, unfortunately, in these toxic environments. If nothing else at this point in my career, like I have a crazy threshold for pain. It's not great, but I'm able to endure quite a bit.
Same.
Due to a financial situation, right? But there does get to a point that like if you aren't, like I said before, like if you're not centered, you might start to equate that a willingness to endure for a period of time with the actual loyalty, and you don't want to bring that type of an element to your next opportunity if unfortunately it's also toxic.
Yeah.
Hopefully you're recognizing the signs earlier and you don't find yourself in the exact same situation, but even loyalty is its own factor that is really difficult to pin down, I think, in today's workplace. But it's there are a lot of people that have been stuck in really bad situations for a long time, and it gets to a point where they just don't want to move. It gets more to like Stockholm syndrome than not.
Oof. Well, I would say let's break the mold with this episode today.
Let's do it.
Let's do it. Okay, but before we go and end this episode, I have to say Chris and I are wearing really cool sweaters. Mine says, "No, I don't want no scrubs." Thank you, Primark from 2016. I found this in a Primark in London, and it has been one of my beloved sweaters because it says, again, "No, I don't want no scrubs." But Chris, what are you wearing, and where can people get this?
Yeah, so mine says "Petty but Principled," and you can get it from my store, which you can find on my Instagram.
Love. Petty but principled. I am literally one of the pettiest people. Again, I never forget when someone has wronged me. Hence my book dedication to everyone who doubted me. Fuck you. Just kidding. I don't know if I'm allowed to put that in a book.
I mean, it's your book.
I am really great. It was like, really though, F you. I've been cursing a lot this episode. Sorry if you don't like that. I'll try to learn to be more mannered. someday in my
life.
life.
Who are you talking to?
I don't know.
You just want
the podcast.
You want the authenticism. They're fine. They're fine.
They don't mind it. I didn't say any bad words, okay? I just like fuck, which is my favorite word. And if you liked my sister dialing in and you want her back for another episode, she has been trying to get on this pod. So if not for Chris, I know, if not for Chris, she would have got on here. So here we go. And then Chris, for people who are trying to find you on the internet, everyone's on LinkedIn, Instagram. Can they find you on Instagram? Where else can we get in touch with you?
Yep. Basically, all handles Chris R. Hagood, Hagood. You can and you should subscribe to my newsletter, studedge.beehive.com. It's called Professional Villain Era. And visit us on our site, studedge.com as well.
I love Professional Villain Era. It's such a good PV. It's such a good title because I think in my professional villain era. Who knows? Anyways, Chris, thank you for being here. Thank you for putting up with me.
For sure.
He'll be back next season for more games because you're like the one guest I play games with now.
I'm with it.
You're my games guest. I'm like, every time I know Chris is on, I'm going to come up with some way to torture you via game.
It's the only bullying that I will accept.
It's not bullying. It's love. Okay, bye, Chris.
See ya.
Thanks for tuning in. Keep up with all the latest HR resources by subscribing on Apple, Spotify, Google, or wherever you listen. And if you love I Hate It Here, tell an HR friend. I'll see you next time.